Thank you so much for joining us today at Oklahoma Central for our first-time homebuyer program. We're still waiting on a few more attendees to log in, so we're going to give them just a few more minutes to get on and get ready, and we will get the webinar started today for our first-time homebuyer program. And again, thank you for joining us, and give us just a few moments and we'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us today for our first-time homebuyer program workshop that we're offering today. We will have Renee and her team with us today. Renee is our mortgage expert. Just going over our first-time homebuyer things. We're still waiting on a few more attendees to log in. But while we're waiting, if at any time during the webinar you have a question, anything like that, please don't hesitate to ask it in our Q&A box, and someone from our mortgage team will get back with you in the next 48 hours with the answer to any of the questions that you may have. And we're so excited for you all joining us today for our first-time homebuyer webinar. Renee, we're so glad to have you here with us too today. I love when you're able to do these with us.
We're happy to share this information and this knowledge of this wonderful program that we offer here at Oklahoma Central.
Yes, because that is one of the nice things is for first-time home buyers. And
yes.
Of course, I know it's going to be going on in the webinar for it, but people don't realize that as long as you haven't owned a home in 3 years, you automatically can qualify
yes.
for it as long as credit and things like that.
Yes, there's so many perks. So stay in tuned and we'll go through all the details for you.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today for our first-time homebuyer workshop webinar. I'm Jana Harding. I'm the Financial Development Officer here at Oklahoma Central Credit Union. And today I have Renee Fairchild, our mortgage expert, with me. And we have just a plethora of information that we hope that you find useful today. And if you have any questions at all during this or after it, please do not hesitate to reach out and ask. We'll be happy to get back with you. If you ask us any questions in our Q&A box, give our mortgage team 48 hours to reply back with you with an answer. So we're going to go ahead and get started today. And thank you again for joining us. So our first-time homebuyer workshop. Learning how to buy a home is a big deal, especially when you're considering that buying a home is likely the biggest personal financial move you're going to make. I would say it is the biggest purchase you would make, wouldn't you?
Yes.
I know for me it has been, because that's what is going to go with us. So, and one of the good things that we want to go over with today too is involving multiple good life financial steps and habits can lead you directly to the purchase of your dream home, because there's nothing worse than having someone come in and not being able to purchase their home.
Right, right. And we're here to kind of walk them through and help them throughout the ways of how to do that.
Perfect. So what am I doing and where do I start? So I'm preparing for our credit. So it is really good though for them to go ahead and review all of their Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, make sure that everything's correct on those things, right?
Yes, a lot of people can have their credit reviewed ahead of time. So many people pull Credit Karma that's out there, but just be aware that your Credit Karma score is not the score that the mortgage company or anyone on the mortgage end of it looks at for your score for rating you for qualifications. That score is always much higher than the mortgage credit score.
Okay. Now, what about for they want to make sure that any inaccuracies that is on their credit report, they've got that cleared up before they come into you as well, don't they? Okay, and I know this is a big one. We got to make sure we're paying those bills on time.
Yes.
And we want to make sure we reduce those credit card balances. What about this? And I know because we will talk about this later too, but people are like, oh, I want to buy a new home. I want to buy new furniture. We recommend, don't we, that not to make any purchases until after the closing of the home.
Right, right. Don't do anything like that. And like it's mentioned on here as well, Don't go out thinking that you need to close all your open credit lines that maybe have been paid off and that you have a zero balance on. When you go and you do any activity on those closed accounts, it will actually lower your credit score. So just leave those alone during this home buying process. Don't show any activity on those accounts.
Let me ask you this. I've heard before too with like your lender when we go and get pre-approved and you're going over everything, you will let members know on, okay, let's pay this off that's been on your credit and let's not mess with this.
Yes.
We can leave it alone.
Yes. There's even some small collections that you don't have to pay off, especially medical collections.
Okay, perfect. So let's see here now for preparing our budget. I know this is a big one for me, especially whenever I'm home shopping, doing things that, oh, I know what it is that I want, but what is actually going to meet my needs. And so we definitely want to make sure that we analyze our current assets and our debts. We want to track our spending and make adjustments as needed. And prepare a budget and set realistic savings plans. And I would say, especially in today with how we're living with milk is over $6 a gallon. We've got this.
Yes.
So would you say definitely give yourself a little bit of extra wiggle room even?
Yes, for the increase with taxes and insurance that are in your monthly payment, because sometimes you don't realize that does increase from year to year.
Okay, I've wondered about that because I've seen on statements where our mortgage goes up and it does.
Just know as the value goes up in a house, which is great once you own the house, your taxes and your insurance also goes up and that affects your monthly payment.
Oh, yes. Okay. That is really good, especially considering if you do your budget and you're like, okay, well, for the next 24 months, this is my budget, this is what my payment will be. And then 12 months goes by, those things change, which we want our home value to go up and increase.
Yeah.
And so they'll definitely want to make sure we're on track for that. Now, how we figure out what can I afford? What is the debt to income ratio?
Generally, that is speaking you take the new payment of your new home, which you're going to purchase, and you take any debts that you have, whether it's auto, your personal loans, revolving debts, and now we have to add back in the student loan payments once again.
Yes.
And we were using those in there, but it was a much smaller payment. And now realistically, we have to look at what the new payments are on those student loans.
Okay, yeah, because that is going to be a big one. I've seen a lot of those things going on right now.
And we figure that from your gross monthly income that you earn, like in a 40-hour week, what your gross monthly income is, and it cannot go over that 43%, especially on the first-time homebuyer program.
Exactly. Okay. So our debt to income, what if I come in to do my mortgage and my debt to income is too high? What can we do for that?
We will actually sit down with you and kind of work with you and coach you on how to maybe fit in that box, how to get to that point.
Okay.
Maybe how to pay off something, or maybe you're, $10,000 to $15,000 over on your sales price and you need to kind of back off a little bit to get to that point. So we know kind of how to tell you what to do and how to get to that point. Or maybe look at your income a little. Maybe you have overtime or bonus that you get and you've been on your job a couple of years. Well, if you've been doing that for over 2 years, we can average those things. And that's additional income that you can get. So there's other ways for qualifying you. It's just sometimes on a case-by-case basis.
Well, let me ask you this too, like we do, with all the different things we have going on at the credit union with helping our members, if we have those that they're true first-time home buyers, they haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, this can be their first home purchase, and they've cleaned up their credit, they've tried to keep, their credit in good standing, and even though they may have switched their jobs, but they've stayed in the same career field over the last 3 years, things like that. Can we still go through and kind of like hold their hand and walk them through?
Definitely.
And how long would we say that they should probably come in before? Like, let's say if someone was wanting to be like, you know what, I want to start looking for houses in March. When should they probably start reaching out to us, to the team, to see what we can do to help?
I would say by the end of the previous year.
Okay, so by the end of
December. So
okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered that for when people ask that.
Yeah. Because we do, and here we are on the pre-approval process, we do pre-approvals when you come in or you either come in or you do an online application. And those pre-approvals are good for a 90-day pre-approval.
Okay, and so what happens if they go through 90 days and they haven't found their home yet? Do we just redo this for
We
them?
will update it. We'll
Okay.
make sure all their circumstances are the same and nothing has really changed, and we'll give them an updated pre-approval.
Okay, perfect. And let me ask something. This is something I've been told a while back, is that one of the things is you want to look at because of course we hope they have a real estate agent with them going through this. One of the first questions a real estate agent should ask them, isn't it, is if they've been pre-approved yet.
Definitely.
Okay, and I thought most buyers too, they like to have that pre-approval letter most sellers like to have that pre-approval letter from the buyer.
I was going to say most sellers won't even look at an offer or seriously unless you have a pre-approval letter.
Oh, wow, I did not realize that. And again, if you all have any questions as we're going through this, please do not hesitate to reach out in our Q&A box so that our mortgage team can get back with you and answer any questions that you may have. Now, on our evaluation for the stability of our income, sufficient money to close, credit worthiness. So these are some things that we'll really dive in with them on.
Yes.
So are there documents that they need? On these that we have here, is it usually any other times that we would reach outside of the box to need any additional documents from them?
Yes, at times there will be. There might be something that's related to the tax returns that requires us to need additional information. No, these are the primary documents that we request almost everyone up front. There may be something that comes up on a bank statement that there's a large deposit. Maybe you show a $10,000 deposit on your bank statement. Anything that shows out of the norm, we will have to have something to give us a paper trail, like where did that $10,000 come from? Was it a gift from a family member? Did you take out a loan somewhere and it doesn't show up on your credit report yet? We would have to verify that loan payment. Just various things that come up along the way. Or maybe there's something questionable on your pay stub. Maybe child support comes out of that and you didn't reflect on the application that you paid child support. So there are other documents that do come up along the way.
Okay, but let me ask you this question to you real quick. On child support, what if you receive child support? Do you get to use that as your income on a mortgage application?
Yes, if you can document 12 months of receipt of it, along with your divorce decree, we can use it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So our fixed rate mortgage, can we explain this? Because I know people ask all the time, like, okay, wait, will I be locked in? Will I not be locked in? What exactly will happen with that?
Yes, when you have a contract and when you come in, we do lock your rate in to a particular interest rate at that time. You can choose, especially on the first time home buyer, you have the option of a 20-year fixed rate or a 30-year fixed rate. Your term on the interest rate does not change during that whole period of 20-year or 30-year. The only thing that will ever change in your payment is your taxes and your insurance.
Perfect. And that's how we know when our payments will go up. And we expect them to go up each year, because then that means we have equity in our home, different things like that. Our neighborhoods are booming, those types of things.
But your rate does not change during that term.
Okay. Now, our first time home buyer program, this is one of the things I love, is that as long as you've not owned a home in the last 3 years, you can possibly qualify for this. And the minimum credit score is only a 680.
Right.
So I would not think that that's anything. And I like this one, must occupy the home once we've purchased it. So we can't purchase a home and then turn around and make it be a rental property.
Right.
Okay.
And you can't come in as a rental. It can't be a second home. It has to be your primary, and you must occupy it within 30 days of purchase.
Okay. And so, and the maximum that we will loan out for our first time home buyer program is $300,000.
Right.
Okay. And then also they can receive a $500 discount towards closing costs as long as the loan balance is between $90,000 and $300,000.
Correct.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
And I do like that in the next few slides, we're going to get into what we call the private mortgage insurance.
Right.
And that's always a sticky one for things. And too, with us here at Oklahoma Central, as long as they obtain the certification of the completion from our Financial Wellness Center training modules found on our website, those are really with the information that we ask for them. Is all we need.
And it's so simple. It's not like a long, hour-long course or anything. It's very, very simple to do.
Fantastic. Now, fees and costs that are associated with buying our home, exactly what is earnest money?
Earnest money is what you give with a realtor and you usually make it out to the seller or the title company, and it's kind of like in good faith that you give the seller saying, I'm going to purchase this house from you. Please hold this house for me, and I want to buy it. Now, if you back out of the purchase deal and it's on you that you back out, then you lose that money.
Okay. Now, what if something happens, saying with inspections, and they're not willing to fix it or something like that? Is that in where you would get your earnest money
You would get your
back?
money back if you did those inspections within that window of time that you've written in the contract.
Okay. And will I have to make a down payment with our first time home buyer?
No, there's no down payment. That's what's the awesome thing, is zero down.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, what a help for people. And so, like you said, the inspections and appraisals, we want to make sure we get those done in that window time frame. Closing costs and our prepaid items, things like that, and our realtor fees, and those are all handled in all the documents and everything.
And we go over all that up front when you come in, or when you do it online and we meet. Yes.
Now, understanding our costs and disclosures on this. So it says, our closing costs, which our closing costs and our down payment are two different things.
Right.
Okay. Can carry between 3 to 6% of your purchase price. And right there, it cannot be financed. So since that's what the money that they'll have to come up with is their closing costs for this program. Okay. Now, what about you may be able to have a gift from an immediate family member? How would that work?
That is like a parent that can give it to you. It's usually brother, sister, or mom and dad. Usually it's mom and dad giving you, or a grandparent or something giving you money. Please, though, whatever you do, don't have them deposit that money into your account ahead of time.
Okay.
You want to wait till you get your loan app going and they decide to give you the money, because there's a form that needs to be completed showing a particular gift form that they fill out. And then we would need a copy of your deposit slip and a couple other documents that we would go over in the form for the gift.
Okay. So if we know that someone is going to be gifting us the money for our down payment, we do not want to deposit it into our checking account. Just have them hold on to that for us until we get to that.
Yes, and we'll give you the information on getting the gift.
Perfect. Now, understanding our costs and our disclosures. So the closing costs will include, of course, the loan costs, settlement services, taxes, homeowners insurance, and property. And is that where we reach out to our insurance company for that, right? On letting them know.
And we also have an insurance company too that we would refer to you. Maybe you would want, that we do business with, and we would refer out and probably see what their quotes are compared to maybe somebody you're checking with too.
Yeah, perfect. So we can actually help them compare prices further in the homeowners insurance.
Yes, definitely.
That's fantastic. So, all right. This is so much great information today. Now, what is my interest rate?
Well, we really don't have a particular interest rate set. Those change daily.
Okay.
Just know that those can change, and sometimes a couple of times a day they can change. Until you have a completely signed by all parties contract, and we have it in hand, and you have an application completed, we cannot lock you into a rate.
Okay. All right then. And the lock term rates are good for 45 to 60 days. Like you said, if we need something because we're having trouble finding a home, different things like that, we're able to work with them to let them know that.
We, kind of a side note on this, we do have a program that we could talk to you about. It's called the Lock and Shop program.
Okay.
And we could, talk to you about it. It's where you can pay $500 to lock in a particular interest rate today, and it's good for 90 days, and you can lock that rate in, and you have a one-time option to float down.
Okay.
And if the rates go up, you're still held at that rate, you're good. But if the rates go down anytime during that time when you find a home, then you can take that opportunity to take that lower rate.
Oh, wow. So either way, it's a win-win. If rates go up, you get still your good rate. And if rates go down, you can get
You get that
locked into money.
one-time opportunity. And if you don't find a house after a certain period of time, you can have that $500 refunded.
Oh, wow.
And if you find a house, that $500 is towards your closing costs.
That makes it even nicer,
Yeah.
especially if we're having to ask a family member if we're looking for
Yes.
things for that. Again, if you all have any questions at all while we're going through this, please do not hesitate to reach out to our Q&A box, and a member of our retail team will be happy to get back with you. So components of a mortgage payment. So our principal, we know on that, we've covered what our interest is. We do know that our taxes, we expect those to go up with that because our
Yes.
property value is going to be going up. I think that it's amazing on homeowners insurance that we'll actually refer them to an insurance company so they can shop and see. And then their PMI and possibly flood insurance. So what would you need flood insurance for?
Depending on if it's in a flood zone or not. There's
Okay.
very few places around here that are actually in a flood zone. But
Okay.
that is something that you may want to ask your real estate agent when you're shopping houses,
Okay.
or even, find out from the listing agent. But definitely check that when you're shopping houses, because that's a pretty hefty amount to pay per
Yes.
month.
It can be.
Yes.
And also association dues. People don't always realize that sometimes we do have those homeowner association dues. And
Quite often now.
And as expensive as what they go up
Yeah.
now, that we want to make sure we've got that extra anywhere from $200 to some of them are several $1,000s
Yes.
a year.
Yes.
Okay. Now, private on our PMI, this is one of the things that I feel is so tricky sometimes and it's hard to understand. So can you just explain this to us on, do we need this? It's important and how it works.
On a regular conventional loan, you have private mortgage insurance, which is known as PMI. You have it on any loan unless you put 20% down. Anything that's above that, you are required to have private mortgage insurance. The nice thing about the first time home buyer program is it's a zero down program where you have no down payment and there's no PMI.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And the PMI can run anywhere from probably $120 a month up to $300 and something a month. So that saves you an incredible amount per month.
Exactly. It could save you up to $300 off your mortgage. And with rates and the way that things are right now in
Yes.
the market, it could be the difference between a $1,300 house payment and a $1,600
Yes.
house payment.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, finding our home. And these are things I love to do, is like looking at houses and doing for all that. It's so much fun. We would definitely want to make sure we make a list of our wants versus our needs.
Yes.
I know for me, I laugh about well, these are things now at my age that I'm like a home must have. And
Definitely.
these are things that I'm like, oh, it's just a couple of extra bells and whistles if we get it.
You definitely want to list the things that are very, very important to you, that are kind of, that mean something to you. Like, do you want a big kitchen? Is the yard a big thing? Or do you want electric or gas appliances? Those, how big of a bathroom do you want? Or do you want a tub or a shower in the master? Some have both, some only have one. So just the little things, but I mean, sometimes you don't think about all these. So even when you're home in the evenings and you think of little things, keep a notepad and write all these things down.
Of that you want. Well, and I like the visit at different times of the day so we can definitely see the neighborhood and what's going on.
Yeah.
I know growing up, my mom used to always tell us, make sure before you move anywhere, you drive through there several times a day and at night. That's really important. So you can
when
see
everybody's at home.
Yes. And I like that. I never thought of this, to test drive to and from work in that location, just to make sure, is it going to be conducive with your travel that you have, and talk to the neighbors. I like that.
Yeah.
So that you can see.
They'll tell you a lot.
Yes, they will. So finding our home, we want to be attentive while in the home and ask a lot of questions. And definitely we want to make sure we're reviewing those public records regarding property tax amounts, the local schools, transportation, and shopping. We want to make sure and just see what's going on in the community that we're about to move to. Now, on this one, I always say too, you definitely want to find a great real estate agent because you and this person are going to get very close, aren't you?
Yes, yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but next to the mortgage officer, they're in your business with
Oh,
knowing
yeah.
how everything
And
is.
they're there, you want to make sure you pick a good one because they're there to protect you, to look for your best interests,
Mhm.
and take care of you.
And do we hear also if the you hear say if we had a member come in like you know what this is what I want to do, but I don't even know where to start looking for a real estate agent. Do we have different resources to help our members with that of different
I mean,
churches?
we have some different ones that,
Okay.
that have come in and, given us. I mean, we don't just give out one particular person, but
Mhm.
we have some referrals.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also that is so important because if you have any issues that arise with your home inspection, your agent's who's going to take care of those things
Yes.
for you.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, we're getting close to wrapping up. We've just got a few more slides to go, so please do not hesitate to ask us any questions that you may have in the Q&A box. So steps to closing and making an offer. So we definitely want to make sure they've got that, submit the contract and include any contingencies that may be in it. And that's also what the real estate offer will help them with.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And they'll let them know too if their offer's been accepted or countered, if they need to negotiate. And then once everything's in agreement, they'll be able to come in and sign.
Yes. And one thing I will add to this with your real estate agent and you is once this is signed and ratified by all parties, is that we get a copy of that contract as soon as possible. We don't want it just sitting somewhere and us not getting it, and then you have a closing date that's in 3 weeks.
Oh,
It's
definitely.
so very important that we get that contract just as soon as y'all have it accepted.
Perfect. Steps to closing. So we want to make sure we're being responsive. We're going to definitely shop the homeowners. We're going to actually give them an insurance company too to look at. And this is so important. Don't open new credit or move money unless the lender
Yes.
tells you. And what about this? I was asked a quick question. I know we're almost up. I've had people before, like 2 weeks before closing, that accepted a new job. And it's like,
Yes. Please talk to us about it before you
yes.
do that. I mean, in a lot of cases, it's okay to do that, but we need to have a heads up on that so that we can get that employment verified. We would have to have your first pay stub before you close. So all of that needs to be taken in consideration. And we don't want to make that 10-day call before you close to verify that you're still on your job and get notified that he no longer works here or she no longer works here. And then the whole thing blows up at the end.
Okay, and this is also so important is making sure that we get the utilities turned on in time
Yes.
as well. So our final approval and closing, the final approval is issued when the lender has everything we need. Closing disclosures are issued. They'll wire or a cashier's check, which we'll have them bring to closing or have it wired to us. And we definitely want to make sure bring a pen that we like to sign with because they're going to sign a lot of documents. Now, owning and keeping your home. Home ownership is an ongoing commitment. And we want to think of all these things that we have listed here, especially those unexpected repairs, different things like that that we maybe have going on for that. And also, the real estate agent can also help them with other things on this too, can't they? And this is what we're going to. We want to say thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar. And if you come in and you meet with us and our mortgage team is like, you know what, you're not to where you're able to buy a home right now, but eventually you will be. We can definitely put them in touch with GreenPath, can't we? And they can help get them on that track as well. And thank you so much for joining us for our webinar today. Thank you so much, Renee, for you and your team putting this together and joining me for it today. And if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. Renee and her team will be happy to answer any. And also, this webinar will also be available on our YouTube channel within the next 24 hours. And so if you want to rewatch it again, or if you want to share this with friends, we definitely encourage it. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us for our webinar today. And we look forward to seeing you back again in November.
Thank you.
Thanks, Renee.